Jeff Beck is rightly counted among the guitar greats, a restless innovator who pushed rock guitar into strange, thrilling places. But genius often comes with a sharp edge. Behind the era-defining albums and jaw-dropping solos was a man famed for perfectionism, a brutal intolerance for sloppiness, and a tongue that could wound reputations. That intensity won him admiration, and admiration won him enemies. This piece digs into 6 high-profile ruptures. The title uses 6. As in the original, the well-known clashes, bitter breakups, and long-running resentments between Beck and some of rock's biggest names. I've preserved the key incidents and personalities while cleaning up the language and correcting names, so the story reads clearly for listeners aged 30-70. 5. Rod Stewart. Jeff Beck and Rod Stewart made lightning together in the late 1960s. Beck's band and Stewart's impassioned voice produced Truth and other landmark recordings, but the working relationship was volatile. Beck demanded microscopic precision, every note, every phrase, while Stewart brought a looser, soulful, singer-first sensibility. Studio tensions mounted as Beck pushed for control of arrangements and stage presentation. Stewart bristled at being treated like just the singer in Beck's show. Sources from that era recall confrontations in dressing rooms and on tour. Stewart later characterized the experience as working under someone who ran the band like a strict taskmaster rather than a collaborator. Their split was abrupt and painful, and it left both artists wary of one another for years. Where the partnership might have been a creative breakthrough, it instead became a cautionary tale about ego and artistic ownership. 4. Eric Clapton, a feud that reads like a debate about the soul of the guitar. Eric Clapton, the blues purist beloved for his emotional, rootsy playing, and Jeff Beck, the restless experimenter. Clapton admired technique, of course, but he put feeling, phrasing, and reverence for the blues front and center. Beck's willingness to tinker, to treat the guitar as a lab for new sounds, provoked Clapton's scorn. He reportedly viewed some of Beck's adventurous moves as tricks that risked turning music into spectacle. Accounts from the 1960s and 1970s described the two men as representing opposite poles. Clapton, the keeper of blues tradition. Beck, the boundary pusher who embraced distortion, feedback, and studio effects. Witnesses say Clapton once walked out of a session rather than listen to a demonstration he thought resembled a magic show. The rivalry was less about personal hatred and more about deeply different philosophies, how a guitar should be played, and what it should say. 3. Jimmy Page, and Jeff Beck trace shared roots in the same 1960s British scene, and both were Yardbirds alumni at different moments. That proximity bred rivalry. Page, later the architect of Led Zeppelin's thunderous, mythic sound, reportedly disliked Beck's tendency to make performances about individual display rather than serving the song. According to several insiders from that period, tension flared when Beck publicly criticized other guitarists' styles, and Page resented what he perceived as a superior attitude. The clash wasn't only musical, it was about temperament. Page preferred to put the composition and atmosphere first. Beck at times prioritized the inventiveness of the moment. Over time, Page grew to see Beck's brilliance as accompanied by an arrogance he found off-putting. The two men steered clear of shared projects thereafter. 2. Keith Richards. Keith Richards, the rough-hewn heart of the Rolling Stones, objected to what he viewed as Beck's over-refinement. Richards has always championed an unvarnished gut-level rock and roll, messy, dangerous, and full of human imperfection. To him, Jeff Beck's meticulous technique and studio experimentation risked sterilizing that grit. Stories from 1970s. London scenes describe an exchange in which Richards accused Beck of turning rock guitar into a science experiment. For Richards, the point of the instrument was to groove, to feel, to breathe, not to perform like a technical display. That cultural divide, visceral swagger versus technical finesse, made them natural opponents. It's less that Richards hated Beck as a person, and more that he loathed the aesthetic Beck sometimes embodied. Precision without the streetwise soul Richards treasured. 1. Ritchie Blackmore At the top of this countdown sits Ritchie Blackmore, the mercurial force behind Deep Purple and Rainbow. Blackmore and Beck moved in the same circles in the late 1960s and early 1970s, but their musical priorities diverged dramatically. Blackmore's theatrical, classically tinged hard rock and his fondness for dramatic stagecraft clashed with Beck's restless search for tone and texture. According to multiple recollections, Blackmore regarded Beck as technically brilliant but emotionally distant, a guitarist who might impress other players but who didn't always move audiences. The two reportedly exchanged cutting remarks in studios. One account has Blackmore storming out after feeling patronized. For Blackmore, Beck's approach represented a kind of elitism, turning the guitar into a device for showing off rather than a vehicle for connecting with listeners. That judgment hardened over decades into a lasting chill.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.